on to the next session, and there's 5 chairs here behind me because we're having a large panel on stage. It's called Shifting Sands. It's an exciting and very promising future for the larger global area in which we host this summit and in which many of you will probably have lived and worked. In conversations with some of the most experienced professionals from all over the region, I would like to welcome on stage the moderator of this session. She is an experienced professional in business development and client relationship management. She has 18 years of experience in 3 different continents, and she's currently business development manager at Compass Project Consulting. Please welcome Zoe Stanford. Thank you so much, Zoe. Please have a seat. And I'll just be saying for your information that I was allowed to moderate the morning of this conference, but from this moment onward, I focus on organizing the Sustainable Hospitality Challenge, which takes place on this stage at 4 o'clock. So I'll be stepping out and handing over my MC duties to Gemma Greenwood, who's just waving right now to you. Thank you, Gemma.
Thanks, Gemma.
Have fun with your session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ruben. Hopefully I speak as well as you do. Wow. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Master Planning for Transformative Hospitality and Destination Investments in Shifting Sands. A bit of a mouthful. Please join me in welcoming our distinguished panel to the stage to sit with me. Chairman and CEO, the Moroccan Agency for Tourism Development, also known as SMIT, Imad Barrakad. Welcome. Chief Projects Officer, Sharjah Investment and Development Authority, also known as Shurooq, Khawla Al-Hashimi. Welcome, Khawla. Head of Innovation, NEOM, Wyatt. Welcome, Wyatt. And Chief Executive Officer, ASFAR, Dr. Fahad bin Mushayt. Welcome, Imad, Khawla, Wyatt, and Dr. Mushayt. Thank you so much. The Middle East is a region where history and the contemporary blend seamlessly, offering unparalleled experiences for travelers both locally and internationally. I'm very lucky to experience some of these remarkable projects also while working with Compass with some of you, which is very exciting. In this session, we aim to uncover the keys to master planning for successful investments that not only enhance guest experience, but also drive economic growth and environmental stewardship, and importantly, return on investment. So let's jump straight in. Shurooq, ASFAR, SMIT, and NEOM, all at the forefront of driving transformation in the region. To get us started, and for those of us who don't know, could you please tell us a little bit about your organizations, your mission, your objectives, and the driving force behind what you do? Imad?
Thanks a lot for hosting us. Thanks for everybody to come here. For the Moroccan Agency for Tourism Development, the main role and the main work is to bring investors to invest in a strategy. So we are doing primarily the strategy, working on what kind of product we have to develop. And after that, we have to bring the right investor. It could be a public investor or a private investor. Both of them, they have to invest, and each one has its asset to develop. So this is what we do. So we are working closely with the government, of course, because it's a mission that the government gave us, but we are working with the local government and with professional and the private sector. So there is a lot of work we have to do to gather everybody and to go in one way. This is the most important thing to do and to work on it.
Nice. Khawla.
Thank you for having me. It sounds quite similar to what my fellow panelist here does. At the Sharjah Investment and Development Authority, our main purpose is to attract foreign and direct investment to the Emirate of Sharjah. We look at it at a more strategic level. The type of investments that we are looking forward to is something that would add value to the Emirate and something that would add value to the citizens of the Emirate. And very quickly we realized in order for us to attract the right investors, we also have to develop certain projects that will showcase what the Emirate has to offer and the right path that we basically want to attract the certain types of investments. And that's when the development arm of Shurooq has also started. And we basically develop a lot of projects in hospitality, in big real estate projects. We do art and culture, cultural projects, the House of Wisdom, namely, if anyone's familiar with that. And mainly projects that touch the general public and add value to the citizens of Sharjah. Thank you.
Wonderful. Wyatt.
Thank you. Well, I think the right way to think about NEOM is in the context of this incredible transformation that's happening across the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Our chairman, the Crown Prince and Prime Minister, has said that Saudi Arabia is the most exciting story of the 21st century. And I would agree with him. If you think about the driving force that is happening behind NEOM and a number of projects in the Kingdom, the non-oil economy in the Kingdom is the fastest growing economy in the G20. And the country is incredibly young and vibrant. 70% of the population is under 30. So in this huge transformation, the Crown Prince has given us a challenge to think about how would we reimagine the way that we would solve the world's biggest challenges. So how would we solve livability, sustainability, how we live with the natural environment, how do we have a more business-friendly environment. And NEOM gives us effectively a very large blank canvas to reimagine that. To give you a sense of the size and scale, NEOM is about the size of Belgium. There are 50 countries on the planet that are smaller than NEOM. And so we're building these incredible assets, which we'll talk about. We're very lucky to live in one of the most beautiful parts of the world, and it'd be great to get into that conversation. But really at our core, we're driving this economic transition and creating a new world, a new future for NEOM, for the Kingdom, for the globe, by tackling those big challenges facing society today. So I know that's a lot, but hopefully gives you a little flavour, and we'll get into the conversation.
It's only a small job then.
Yeah, easy.
Dr. Mushayt.
Okay. To add on what my colleague NEOM is doing, I think ASFAR is another subsidiary of BIF. Our mandate is to build destinations kingdom-wide and focusing on tier 2 promising destinations. So almost everywhere in the country except main cities like Riyadh and Jeddah and other giga projects like NEOM or Qiddiya or Dir'iyah. So our target is really to focus on major destination kingdom-wide scattered around the kingdom. Each has its own characteristics, DNA, competitive advantage, and try to capitalize on those ingredients in each destination to offer different mixed-use products and services to attract tourists within and internationally. So this is what ASFAR is doing today, and I've been doing so almost for the last 2 years, and the journey will continue.
Wonderful, and that kind of leads me on to the next question. So ASFAR has been pivotal in aligning its projects with Vision 2030, and under the plan, Saudi Arabia aims to attract an astonishing 150 million visitors annually by 2030, creating 1.6 million job opportunities. Dr. Mushayt, can you share how Vision 2030 is shaping your strategic planning for hospitality and destination investments?
Well, you know, the beauty since Vision 2030 was created, I think it aligned most of the players in the whole ecosystem. So the custodian of the national transformation tourism strategy is the Ministry of Tourism itself. Within the Ministry of Tourism, there is also another entity called the STA, the Saudi Tourism Authority, which promotes Saudi Arabia locally and globally, and TDF, which fund different private sector, international, local, to come and invest in the tourism sector in Saudi Arabia. So in addition to that, there is also MISA, Ministry of Tourism, and Ministry of Investment, which is really also playing in that ecosystem domain as well, once it comes to the tourism sector. Now, we are all aligned, following the the guidelines and the strategy of NTS, National Tourism Strategy. We're trying all of us to achieve the same vision by 2030 by building what it takes and providing different services and products in order to attract the 150 million visitors to be within 2030. Luckily, the number has been achieved. 100 million was originally the number, and which has achieved actually 106 more or less as per the announcement of the Minister of Tourism recently. Now, in terms of creating jobs, we're all working toward creating more than at least 250,000 jobs by 2030 in the tourism sector. Number of rooms to be increased to cater for all these events that are coming to Saudi Arabia, whether that's the World Cup or other events. Almost 300,000 quays need to be built by 2030. And ASFAR is playing also a major role in different destinations kingdom-wide. In terms of diversification of the economy, as my colleague mentioned, it's one of the, I think today we have reached almost 50% non-oil-based service sector that is contributing since the Vision 2030 started. And tourism sector is playing a major role in ensuring that to diversify the economy. And all of us are in the tourism are playing on that domain as well to ensure that we contribute a large, of GDP in the Vision 2030.
Lovely, thank you so much. Khawla, can you give us any more information around your strategic planning and how you're aligning your investments with the strategic plan?
Yeah, so in the Emirate of Sharjah, we do things a little differently, and I think we'll touch upon this more and more as the panel discussion goes on. So we don't have a Vision 2030 that we put on a board and everyone follows, but basically, if you think about it, the purpose of a vision is to get everyone aligned together towards a goal. And in the Emirate of Sharjah, we actually achieve that in a slightly different manner. So His Highness Sheikh Sultan, our ruler, is actually, let's say, leading the way in terms of what he wants the Emirate to focus on. And so we all know, he sends us these messages in various ways in terms of, focus on art, focus on culture, focus on being true to our identity, and any project that we really endeavor upon, whether it's Shurooq, whether it's any other entity within Sharjah, we all understand that strategic vision of overall Sharjah and the direction that Sharjah has to take, and we all have to sort of come together in enhancing that and making sure that the Emirate of Sharjah is constantly being enriched when it comes to staying true to our identity, cultural projects that really speak to who we are as an Emirate.
Wonderful. And Imad?
Thank you. I think for Morocco, we have settled up many strategies since 2000. Today, we are working on a strategy we call a short-term strategy for 2026, and another one 2023. So maybe 2030, that the World Cup will happen in Morocco, and we are working on. Two main things that we are developing is accommodation and leisure. It's very important. But we have a lot of regions. So what we are trying to do is to diversify the experiences. So every client who wants, or every tourist who wants to come to Morocco, he will find the right. So you can go and swim, ski, and go to deserts in the same day. And you can swim noon as well. So maybe you can, this is something that's easy to reach in Morocco, but we have to work on it. So we have, for the World Cup, the thing that we have 6 mainly big destinations that we have to build accommodation, and we have to work on the leisure side because it's important to have SMEs that are developing a lot of activities, leisure around the accommodation or around the stadiums and you have 32 or 33 destinations you have to develop, mainly accommodation because there are teams that are going to be staying there, so they need to find the right environment around them and to work on that. Doing that, 2030, it's tomorrow. and we have to do it very quickly. And you know that developing a product or developing a destination, it took times. It could be on 9 months or it could be in 5 years. It depends where you are. I think when I'm talking about sometimes China or talking about Turkey, you see that it goes very quickly. Even the way today a hotel can be built very quickly. In Morocco, we still need time to develop accommodation. That's why we start, and we try to start before doing that. So we are looking for 26 million tourists on 2030. It's something, when we are talking about 26, we want to double what we were doing on 2020. So it's very important. Before 2020, before COVID, we were doing 1.3, and today we want to double it to 26. So how we can do it? So we set up a lot of mechanisms. It depends on the destination, but we can give incentive to people who wants to develop an attraction park, who wants to develop SMEs to do activity around leisure, and we can give incentive to people who want to develop in, let's say, a greenfield area, who wants to develop accommodation. And we have, in parallel, a very attractive charter that allows people to have more than 30% of cashback for their capex. So all of those mechanisms have been set up to attract investors to develop those destinations.
You've actually answered my next question. You're so prepared. That's fantastic. And that actually leads me on to the next question, which is, as government-owned entities, how are you bridging the gap between the public and private sector, and what are some of the incentives, which you've just mentioned, Imad, for local and foreign operators and investors in the tourism sector? Khawla, are you able to talk about Sharjah and Shurooq specifically?
Sorry, can you repeat the
What are some of the...
I thought that question was for Morocco.
I can go on.
What are some of the incentives for local and foreign operators, and how are you bridging the gap between the public and private investment?
Okay, so as a government entity, we actually have access to a pool of exceptional lands. And for us, it's not so much, let's say, if the numbers are right or if you're interested in coming in and investing. It's more, can we see eye to eye in terms of enriching the emirate when it comes to what we are trying to achieve together. And if there was an investor or a partner or someone who's interested, or even a supplier who's interested in a project, and they come to us and they say, this is what we want to do, and you'll hear from us in the future about, in the panel, when we talk about ecotourism and the type of projects that we tend to attract. So if there is any interest from any investor when it comes to these types of projects, and if we speak the same language, then we can really open up all sorts of obstacles and all sorts of doors for these investors, and we can handhold throughout the whole process. And as long as the project fits our DNA, and as long as we genuinely see that it does add value to the Emirate of Sharjah.
Fantastic. If there are any investors in the room, take note. Wyatt, how about yourself?
Well, I think NEOM is a very large government-backed project, but it is something that is attracting very significant outside investment, because I think people can see the scale of the opportunity and they want to come on this journey as we transform NEOM and the country. And if you look around the globe and you think about what really does drive some of these investment decisions, two big advantages that I think we have that you often don't find in other parts of the world is long-term vision. It's very hard to get that long-term vision and commitment from the most senior leadership, the political will to go with that, and then the backing of the resources of, in our case, a nation to kind of underwrite and anchor that investment, that transition. So for outside investors, that's a huge amount of certainty that on the long term, naturally with these projects, there'll be ups and downs, there'll be changes, but that commitment to drive that big transformational change over time is a big degree of certainty to invest. And then from another perspective, NEOM is very much about providing a project for the kingdom and for the region and then for the world. And I think for a lot of investors, they see it as that opportunity to get into the kingdom and then into the region. In our space, where we're working with partners across the world in bringing sort of world-leading innovations to bear to solve our big challenges. In many cases, NEOM can be one of the largest potential customers that they have. We're working hand in glove with them, not to have a silver bullet approach or a cookie cutter approach, but to tailor those incentives, to tailor those interactions so that we can quickly stand up ways of testing leading technology. And if it works, then we can scale it across NEOM and into the kingdom. And we're really creating a very business-friendly environment to test, to pilot. Our CEO likes to say that NEOM is a living laboratory. And when we really succeed at that, it's an incredibly interesting and attractive environment for investors and partners across the world.
Fantastic. Dr. Mushayt.
Well, ASFAR was created on a unique model that capitalized on the private sector from inception. So whatever we do, we do it with the private sector. We empower the private sector. We invest. We are an investment company. Therefore, by design, we decide not to be a developer, not to be an operator. So we are just an investor. We create the opportunities that exist within those destinations, and we give really attractive offers, working with the Ministry of Tourism and TDF, the funding, plus what ASFAR can contribute to the joint venture with the private sector, whether local or foreign investors. And we create subsidiaries. We give the lead to the private sector to lead and build the vision for each destination. This is our model. So we have been doing this since inception. And we are already, we own almost 5 joint ventures with different private sector kingdom-wide. One of the mandates of ASFAR is really not to crowd out, which is a direction from even BIF, not to crowd out the private sector. In fact, we are there to empower the private sector, give them the lead, to lead in building the destinations and the vision and fulfill our mandate in each destination. We just go and invest as a private equity company and make sure that they fulfill the journey as per the vision that we create for each destination, working with Ministry of Tourism.
Thank you. It's certainly an exciting time to be investing in a private and public sector in the Middle East right now. Ecotourism we've touched on very briefly. It's gaining momentum globally. Khawla, can you tell us about some of the projects and some of your projects and how Shurooq is incorporating eco-friendly practices to promote sustainable tourism in Sharjah?
Okay, so remember when I said we do things differently in Sharjah? This is, I think, where we mostly do things differently. So we don't look at it as a way of, it's an added step that you do at, let's say, midway of a project or at the end of a project. The way we look at it is we look at it holistically. I spoke very briefly that we have access to very, very beautiful lands, very natural, things that otherwise, we wouldn't be able to develop within. So these are very, very extremely sensitive areas that have natural environments, that have natural habitats that we have to enhance and not destroy whatsoever. So I'm an architect here, and I'm probably the only architect who is going to say that the goal is to be invisible. The goal is for the development to be invisible. And I think the moment that we step back and stop saying that we're going to build, 200 keys and it's going to look like this and it's going to have the curviest glass and it's going to have the longest I don't know what, the moment we take a step back from that, the moment we look at what the plot has to offer and what we really want to enhance and what is genuinely the experience that we want to provide to our guests. And the product almost becomes a byproduct. So, and I'll give you an example. So for example, we have a project in Kelba, which is on the east coast of Sharjah. And over there, it was a protected area. We have turtles, we have crabs. It's a stunning beach with uninterrupted views of the Indian Ocean. And, it comes with its sensitivities. And it's protected by an agency called the Environmental Protective Agency in Sharjah, which is also a government entity. And, initially, for them, it was, we want to protect this land, we want to make sure the wildlife is protected, we want to make sure nothing happens here, nothing gets affected. And we said, one of the best ways for you to protect something is if you promote it and you let people be aware of it. However, how can we now step in as a developer, but without negatively impacting the area? So, the team and I take pride in our research and in all of the pre-planning that we do in order to get to the product that will end up being on that land. So we don't start a project by saying, oh, we're going to build tents in Kalba. We look at what is going to be the least negative impactful to the plot, and then we end up saying, okay, it seems like it's going to be tents in Kalba, because it's not going to harm the land as much, it's lightweight, it can allow the ground to breathe, wildlife can cross from underneath it, and so on and so forth, and I'm not going to get into a lot of detail on that. So the idea is, I know that a lot of the hospitality projects start with numbers and someone looking at Excel sheets and making sure things work, and this is how many keys we have to achieve, and this is how big things need to be, and this is the ADR expected, and I have our business development team here with us as well, and they look at things differently, and that's the added value that we have, that it's a conversation between the project and the business development and making sure things work. So it's not about maximizing, it's about making sure our footprint is our physical footprint is as minimal as possible to the environment. And that, I think, is going to create an exceptional experience for the guests when they come to our projects. And a lot of them are there for you to visit and try and see. And some of them are tents, and some of them are cabins, and some of them are very, very, very different things. And a lot of them won architectural awards, but that, again, was not the purpose. It was not the intention for them to it just becomes as a byproduct, just because of, and I think the person before the panel was talking, the storytelling and aspect of things really comes to life when you start talking about everything that is around you. And the way we look at it is that we are the platform for which you can experience the area where we develop the project.
I can't wait to visit. And that actually leads me quite well on to the next question for Wyatt. So obviously, well, I know that you have a deep understanding of enabling innovation at government level and how it translates to the private sector. But how is NEOM integrating cutting-edge technology and innovation in its master planning to create transformative hospitality experiences? And how are you minimizing visitor impact on NEOM's natural surroundings?
It's a great question. Maybe just to pick up on the sustainability element and then go to the technology element. We are incredibly lucky to call home one of the most beautiful regions on the planet. So we have the stunning Gulf of Aqaba and Red Sea, some of the best reef anywhere in the world, incredible mountain ranges that get snow on the top of them in winter, a beautiful desert landscape, and it's untouched. And so our very strong commitment is to protect, preserve and improve the natural environment. So 95% of NEOM is protected, never to be touched, which is an amazing commitment. We are rewilding and regreening the natural environment. So we're planting over 100 million native plants, which we're bringing a lot of innovative technology to bear to how you can actually regreen and rewild our natural environment. And then that allows us to bring back very special Arabian wildlife back into this landscape, and there's a lot of technology that comes to bear to bring that into NEOM. We're also committed to 100% renewable energy, which is a huge commitment. The amount of technology you need to achieve 100% renewable energy at that scale is an all-of-the-above approach, and really we're leading the world in terms of how you achieve that at that scale. To your point around how we're delivering a more personalized experience with technology, we recognize that the way in which tourists, visitors, citizens want to interact with where they're staying is changing. People expect a deeply personalized, and we would even say a predictive experience. And so one of the advantages we have is building from scratch without any legacy systems in place. You know, there is nothing sitting there today. We can design from a technology point of view a deeply personalized experience from when you book to when you arrive, to when you stay, when you leave, and obviously when you come back. And the ability to work with different partners around the world to bring that technology at scale, but also to test the most leading technology, which is a really big opportunity. Just to give you one practical example, we're currently testing with some amazing companies around the planet how you would, with robotics, change the nature of the hotel rooms in which people are staying to your personal preference. Few places in the world could you test and trial and pilot that technology in the way that we can, and obviously if it's successful, then to scale at very large scale. So it's a, you know, if you're in this space of using technology to create these experiences, there's nowhere more exciting than NEOM to be.
Wow, that's really impressive. If you do manage to pull that off, I know a fit-out contractor that could potentially do that for you, just saying. Imad, SMIT plays a pivotal role in unlocking Morocco's tourism potential and facilitating public-private partnerships. With Morocco hosting the FIFA World Cup in 2030, which we're all very excited about, what are the key hospitality and infrastructure developments planned to accommodate the influx of tourists and ensure a memorable experience?
So, thank you. What we are trying, you know that SMIT is not investing in accommodation and the hotels. So what we are trying is to gather all the stakeholders and try to develop a destination or an ecosystem more precisely. And for the FIFA World Cup, we need ecosystems. And as I said, we'll have maybe 6 cities hosting the World Cup, and more than 32 ecosystems that we have to develop and gather all the development around it. So it's important to bring private investors to invest. So all of those are gathered in an ecosystem, and you have to help them to go. So what we do is we give the strategy, we give as well what kind of study they want, if they need any study, so we give them the study. We give them incentive. We try to help them to do their investment and to get the best IRR for their investment. It is very important that people who wants to come and invest, he needs to reinvest. And this is how we work and what we do to bring people investing in Morocco. So it's very important to be very close to investors, very close to the government, very close to local collectivities in the territories, and of course, and all the stakeholders we have to be close to all the stakeholders around development.
And can you tell me a bit about some of the global operators and investors that you're collaborating with to drive sustainable growth in the tourism sector in Morocco?
I mean, we have many kind of investors. We have mainly some GCC investors from UAE, from Abu Dhabi, and from Dubai. Maybe we can talk about some of them. You have Imad, who is they are investing in Morocco. They opened they opened one hotel and they are opening another hotel. They are private investors, family offices that are developing there. We can find as well some, let's say, sovereign fund who are investing as well in Morocco. There are a lot of investors. What we are trying to do is to accompany them to invest in the right opportunity, because sometimes the procedure are very complicated and you have to help them to have a nice experience, because we are talking about tourist experience, but we can talk about investor experience, and it's important to be very helpful and very easy to do it in Morocco. That's what we are doing.
Fantastic. And it's not just Morocco that will be caught up in the excitement of the World Cup. Saudi Arabia is also hosting the 2034 World Cup. There's a lot of buzz around this also, as well as football's 2027 Asian Cup. And what else? Wyatt, you were telling me?
The 2029 Asian Winter Games, which will be
held
in our ski resort in the mountains.
Yeah, okay, so there's quite a lot happening. Can you give us a bit of an understanding of the kind of infrastructure and the planning and support around these huge events that you have in place? And this is, I guess, for Wyatt and also Dr. Mushayt as well.
Thank you. Well, it's interesting to have the Winter Olympics, the Asian Winter Olympics in NEOM. I think my colleagues mentioned that it really have hail, and snow. Even some other parts of the country, like we had massive snow, not hail, in the southern part of Saudi Arabia this summer. Now, tourism, sport is a massive thing. We've seen Saudi Arabia has really have a major pillar within Vision 2030, and they're really working hard, Ministry of Sport, on that. Now, starting with getting the best players in the world to come and play for Saudi, well, that's by itself is a signaling to the rest of the world of what massive changes is happening in Saudi Arabia, and how the country is changing and opening up. Plus, what those players can bring from know-how to the local market. In addition to that, Saudi Arabia is also hosting most of the final cups. For example, the Turkish League recently, major game happened 2 days ago between two famous Egyptian clubs. So many things are happening. Now, from an infrastructure perspective, they've announced that they are building state-of-the-art stadium. One of the stadium will be one of the largest, which is King Salman Stadium, the largest high-tech stadium in the world. Will be a multi-purpose. It's on the top of one of the mountains in Al Qadiyah. For us, tourism, we're trying to capitalize on that as well. ASFAR, a couple of cities where stadiums are built, we're building also some high-end mixed-use, unique offering to cater for those visitors once they are visiting for the World Cup. However, other cities, part of our mandate is really to capitalize on all different kind of regulation, especially the different regulation in the tourist visa, whether it's the religious visa or the visa plus, or sport visa, or, to really attract travelers to travel to Saudi Arabia. And once they are within Saudi Arabia, watching any game, to take them to different destination within Saudi. Saudi, you travel from east to west, north, south, almost 3 hours by plane. So there are many things to see. I remember we did something during the World Cup that took place in Qatar, where we hosted some of the different nationalities that were visiting Qatar for the World Cup, to bring them to Al-Ula in Saudi Arabia. And we're doing so today with different countries, different nationality. So sport in general, sport, tourism, religious, also and religious tourism is becoming now a major contributor to the diversification of the economy in Saudi Arabia.
You can't really talk about the amount of people that you're expecting to bring to Saudi Arabia without talking about religious tourism. Obviously, that is a huge component for Saudi Arabia. We don't really have much time to go into that too much, so I think I might just pop straight to NEOM just quickly to round up with your plans for the World Cup as well.
So I mean, it's these big sporting events are incredible magnets for attracting people across the globe. And while I'm very proud to call Saudi Arabia home, I am an Australian by birth, and Australia, like Saudi, is a proud sporting nation. But the tyranny of distance that we would face in Australia to attract people to go that distance for these big events is incredibly difficult. One of the huge advantages that we have for these big events is the strategic location we have. So from NEOM, you can get to 40% of the world's population in 6 hours. And so as we scale these big events, that ability to attract people from effectively every part of the planet is something we're really playing to, and something I think other parts of the world are envious of. While we are doing these big things, the stadium for the World Cup, the Asian Winter Games in Trojana, which is our ski resort, We're scaling that capacity today. So NEOM already hosts what we call the NEOM Beach Games, which is a very large-scale sporting event. We're obviously a sponsor of McLaren. We're working closely with a number of sporting and soccer clubs. We sponsor the E-Grand Prix. So we're really building out that infrastructure in terms of what we're building, but also that social infrastructure and capital that needs to go in to pull off these big, large-scale events and playing to our strengths. And I think if we get this right, it'll be a huge magnet for NEOM, but for the kingdom in the future.
So exciting, thank you. We have run out of time, so I have one last question, but I think I might skip that. What we've explored today emphasizes the intricate balance between strategic investment, innovation, and sustainability that is redefining hospitality and destination development in the region. I think it's pretty clear that strategic investment balances innovation and viability, not solely eyed on short-term gains, to ensure that we build destinations for generations to come. So thank you everyone for joining us today. Thank you so much for our distinguished panel. Please welcome and give everyone a round of applause. Thank you.
My mic switched on. Can you hear me? Excellent. Thank you, Zoe, and thank you to all our panellists. You were wonderful. There was so much more to talk about, wasn't there?
I know.
So I'm really sorry we ran out of time there, but thank you for your insights.
Thank you.